Welcome back, everyone. 2020 was no doubt a tough year, but there were definitely bright spots as well. Many women broke barriers and reached new heights. It was a year of firsts: the first female vice president, the first all-female White House senior press team, and the first all-female Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. And for the first time, a woman holds the position of team general manager in Major League Baseball. Our first speaker, Asia Bribiesca-Hedin, is the founder and CEO of Bridgewell LLC, a leadership development and strategy execution firm. She will share with us how to be CEO of your career, whether you own a big corporation or own your own business. Following her presentation, we'll hold our discussion, Breaking Barriers and Changing the Status Quo. See you soon.
Yay! Good morning. Welcome, Trojan women. I am so happy to be here with you in this conversation today about becoming the CEO of your career. Because so many beliefs we have around managing our careers are wrong. My name is Asia Bribiesca-Hedin, and I'm your host for a few minutes while we take apart some of these myths and take one big step toward becoming the CEOs of our careers. As a leadership development coach, I work with a couple of broad types of people. I work with professionals struggling with a bad boss or the after effects of having a bad boss. And if you've ever had one, you know what I'm talking about. And I work with frustrated bosses and entrepreneurs who want to become the type of leader that other leaders look to. And although these might seem like very different groups, I've observed that the same myths keep both groups from having the professional experience they want to have. They're keeping both groups from becoming the CEOs of their careers. Now, before you say, I'm not trying to be a CEO, what I'm talking about when I say that is becoming the top decision maker and chief strategist in your career. That's what it is to be the CEO of your career, because the alternative is to be an employee in your own career, going where that next job or next company or next project takes us, whether or not that's where we want to go. So, let's get started. Myth number one: manage up for career success. See, we've been taught over the years to manage up. Make your boss look good. Make your client look good. Align with their priorities and know what matters to them. They taught us this strategy as a surefire way to accelerate our path to success. But there's one fatal flaw in this strategy. And it's that managing up assumes you have a boss who behaves rationally and who you can trust. It assumes your boss is a leader. And when I say leader, I have a very deliberate definition. A leader is someone who elicits the highest level of contribution from those around them. Leaders in this sense encourage others to bring their best, not out of fear, but out of inspiration and seeing them aspirationally for what they could be. This leader sees mistakes as an opportunity to teach, not to be right and make you wrong. And this is probably a leader whose leadership and authority you find you respect, even if you don't always agree. Now, of course, you need to know how to flex your communication skills and be able to engage and align with different personalities in different ways. But this career strategy overlooks the fact that about 2/3 of professionals say they'd rather have a new boss than a raise. So we need to release this myth and find what serves us instead. Now you'll see I have a little thing about trees. The oak knows what it needs to grow. So it'll grow, straight up towards the sun and its roots will reach for water. But if something gets in the way of the tree getting what it needs or reaching sufficient sunlight, it'll alter its direction to get the nourishment it actually needs. It doesn't wait for the sun or the trees to give it permission. It simply pivots. So its investment of energy actually yields the growth and nourishment that it was looking for all along. So stop managing up. Like the oak, you're responsible for your growth and satisfaction. And like the oak, you're responsible for course correction if the direction you're reaching isn't giving you what you need. Instead of managing up, here's what I propose. Put on your chief strategist hat, do some enterprise analysis in your own career, and get incredibly clear on what it is you want and what's important to you. So you can both stop over-investing energy in a boss or client or activity you're not seeing the results you intended to see in, and also to redirect that energy to move you towards what you actually want, because that's what we all want, right? To make progress towards the things that matter. Okay, now we're moving on to myth number 2. Doing a good job will ensure career success. Now, how many of you have thought that? Doing a good job will ensure career success. Now, to be clear, I think we should always be trying to knock it out of the park. But it's what's missing in this sentiment that's damaging to careers, especially as women. Who needs to believe you did a good job? Is it your boss, your clients, your team? Who? Now, we've probably all experienced that high and the buzz of getting kudos or some acknowledgement at work, possibly because we hit the standards that the organization was using, like sales targets or customer retention, on time and under budget, patient satisfaction, etc. You get the idea. But what about that rest of the time where there's no award committee, no objective measure to compare against, yet we know we've knocked it out of the park? Do we allow ourselves to acknowledge that it's a good job, even if our boss or client doesn't think so? Now, a weekend farmer goes to the store. She goes to buy an orange tree, but accidentally comes home with an apple tree. She probably got distracted because her kids were texting her. Now, the apple tree grows up to be an incredible apple tree with the most amazing, beautiful, and delicious and nourishing fruit ever seen. But the tree sits there undervalued and unappreciated because the farmer felt silly and resentful about her own mistake and just couldn't see how magnificent the tree truly was. But the apple tree knew it was magnificent. The apple tree felt no need to change itself into an orange tree to gain approval from the insecure farmer. So, like the prize apple tree, do you allow yourself to acknowledge your accomplishments and your magnificence even when someone else can't objectively see it? Now, if you've fallen in the validation trap, then perhaps for you the answer is no, because there's still some suffering there. Because we didn't get that validation we were looking for. And lack of validation, not getting the response you were expecting, or, worse yet, criticism, whether earned or not, it can quickly derail your pride and sense of accomplishment. Now, remember I said at the beginning that it's what's missing that makes this myth so damaging. So let's fill in the blank. Doing a good job will ensure your career success when you're driven by what actually matters and don't stumble into the validation trap. Now, talking about trees, trees are constantly under attack from fungi, diseases, insects, and even from other plants. Every cell in a tree is able to respond to trouble so they can grow to fruition. Plants can't run and hide. They can't swing a weapon, but they're aware that doing nothing or playing small will not help them grow and thrive. On the contrary, the smaller the plant, the more susceptible to attack and to weather and to being carried away by a passerby who likes how it looks, the more susceptible they are. A full, lush, strong tree is powerful. So this brings us to myth number 3. Keeping your head down will keep you safe. Before we take this one apart, I want to introduce a model I created. And I really like this particular model because it helps explain why we do what we do. It's called the Career CEO Ascension Model, and the model gives you some perspective across 3 dimensions. 1, the feeling or experience to you. And another way to look at this is who you're being or how you're being. Number 2 is where you're focusing your mental energy. And finally, what's driving or triggering your decisions and as a result, your actions. So starting at the bottom of the model, this is where we are after a particularly bad spell at work or when our self-esteem and confidence have taken a serious blow. You can see here we're focused on ourselves. We might have internalized some extended criticism or too many failed attempts at winning someone over and validation and people pleasing. Here we're shrinking back and often playing pretty small in an effort to keep ourselves safe and out of the crosshairs of whoever or whatever we think is putting us at risk. But here's the thing. You'll notice that the experience is never one of safety. It's one of fear and anxiety and self-preservation and everything that comes with that, like losing sleep and high blood pressure and disengagement from family and other interests and the Sunday night blues. You get the idea. It is anything but safe. But we're not done with the conversation yet. So let's move on to that next level. Now, most professionals spend a lot of their time here at the self-conscious careerist level. Here our focus is on our ego and our image and kind of wondering what others might be thinking or feeling about us. We're often being particularly reactive at this self-conscious careerist level because we're trying to figure out what everything means. We're trying to do a whole lot of mind reading. Was that a raised eyebrow? What did that smile mean? Why didn't they invite me to lunch? We spend a lot of time in our heads trying to figure out how to change what others are saying, thinking, or doing about us. And the focus is on feeding our ego and managing our image so it turns out a lot of choices come from within the validation trap. Now, you might have already noticed that. And by the way, professionals who are not clear about their professional value or where there's a lack of role clarity live in this place. And as you can imagine, in this place, being right becomes everything. Here, a lot of the experience is about reacting to and trying to control others' perception in order to fill that confidence or self-esteem void with temporary approval. So I'm going to say that again. Here, a lot of the experience is around reacting and trying to control others' perception of us in order to fill a confidence void with another's temporary approval. So the self-conscious careerists are neck deep in that validation trap. And before they know it, they've given up their nights and weekends and goals and even their values to gain validation from someone they might not even respect. Now, at the very top level, the career CEO, that's where you're focused outside of ourselves. Your focus is on a mission or on a purpose or an outcome you're committed to so authentically, so completely, that there's almost no room for assessment and fear and self-doubt. There's just pouring yourself into it. This is what a lot of people describe as being in the zone. And the experience here, it's clear and confident, and your decisions and actions, they don't come primarily from what's happening around or what happened, but from your conviction to that higher intention or outcome. The other stuff just falls away. Now, this is a journey, and while we all want to be at the top level of this model all the time, something will knock you out of the zone, and it's recognizing what's driving your current actions that can help you get back to that top level. So I'm going to give you a quick cheat here to help you ascend a level or more quickly, and it's based on what you're experiencing or feeling. Now, if you're feeling fear, your solution is to engage with others and take an interest in their set of concerns. This stops you from spinning out of control and retreating further. If you're catching yourself obsessing, on the other hand, over what others think, or find yourself easily triggered or hurt by their words and actions, your solution is to get clear on your own values. Knowing who you are at your core helps that background noise fall away. And finally, if you're already in the zone, this is your opportunity to collaborate and contribute and get others to do the same. because someone else needs the leadership and inspiration that is only accessible when you're at this level. Now, I hope this conversation has given you some ideas on how to promote yourself to the role of chief strategist in your career. I know I went very quickly, so please, you can go to leadershipdivision.com and you'll find some additional resources and notes and an opportunity to ask me questions about today's discussion. I have loved being with you today, and I would love to continue the conversation with each and every one of you. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce the next segment. Next up is Breaking Barriers and Changing the Status Quo. It's a panel of dynamic, amazing women who will share their expertise in navigating male-dominated professions.